Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 3, Text number 11. Asanga Nishita Gnananala Viduta Sheshamalana Bhavat Svabhavanam Atma Ramanam Muninam Anavarata Parigunita Gunagana Parama Mangalayana Gunagana Kathanosi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Dear Lord, all the great sages who are thoughtful and saintly, persons incessantly recount your spiritual qualities. These sages have already burnt up all the unlimited dirty things, and by the fire of knowledge, strengthened their detachment from the material world. Thus they have attained your qualities and are self-satisfied. Yet, even for those who feel spiritual bliss in chanting your attributes, your personal presence is very rare. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The priests in Maharaj Nabhi's sacrificial arena appreciated the personal presence of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they considered themselves very much obliged. The Lord's appearance is rare, even for great saintly persons who have become completely detached from this material world and whose hearts are clean due to constantly chanting the glories of the Lord. Such people are satisfied by chanting the transcendental qualities of the Lord. The Lord's personal presence is not actually required. The priests are pointing out that the Lord's personal presence is very rare, even for such elevated sages, and that He was so kind to them that now He was personally present. Therefore, the priests were very much obliged. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So we are reading in these verses the priests in Maharaj Nabhi's sacrificial arena offering prayers to Lord Vishnu who has appeared there. And in these prayers, they are expressing some of the very wonderful philosophical principles, and continuing that in today's verse, again they are talking about some very wonderful spiritual concepts. Asanga nishita gnananala. Gnana, knowledge. Anala, fire. The fire of knowledge. But here they have said, Asanga nishita gnananala. By the fire of knowledge, strengthened their detachment from the material world. Asanga. Sanga is attachment. Asanga is detachment. And we are talking about a detachment from the material world. And this detachment, nishitha, asanga nishitha, strengthened by the fire of knowledge. So the detachment from the material world will be weak if it is not strengthened by the fire of knowledge. So, we acquire knowledge, we read from the Shastras, we hear from the spiritual master, we hear from the devotees. And this knowledge should enable us to become more and more detached from the material world. If we are not hearing, if we are not understanding this knowledge, our detachment will be weak and very easily we can get carried away. So, Srila Prabhupada made a system in our sadhana that every day we hear from the Bhagavata in the morning and Gita from the evening. And other times Prabhupada gave instructions that we must read every day his books. All of this is to help us develop detachment, which is strengthened by the fire of knowledge. Asanga Nishita Gnananala. And by this knowledge, and we develop detachment, what is the result of that? Vidhuta Ashesha Malanam. Malanam, Mala means dirty things. That's why Nirmala means pure. Malanam, Ashesha Malanam. The living entities, we have dirty things accumulated over many, many lifetimes. It's not just a small bag of dirty things. It's a mountain of dirty things that's in our heart. Vidhuta. These sages, by cultivation of knowledge and developing detachment, they have removed, they have cleansed their heart of Ashesha Malana. And Prabhupada explains the mala in the heart or in the consciousness of a living entity is material desire. We are not supposed to have material desires because we are not a product of matter. But our heart is today filled with material desires. And Srila Prabhupada analyzes, why have these material desires come about? It is because of a fundamental ignorance of our understanding of who we are. So we don't know who we are. We have, Prabhupada's expression, we all live in the bodily conception of life. One may be a very enlightened, educated man in this world, but they are tightly gripped under the bodily concept of life, thinking, I am the body, I am born in this country, and this country is mine, and this body with all my senses should be used in the service of this nation. Nationalism is a very strong idea, especially in these days. Our country, our nation. When we do that, the neighboring country, they will also feel that way. And there is naturally a clash between the countries and different countries in the world. Today, even the big thinkers don't know what to do. On the one hand, they have encouraged nationalism because it helps to organize that country within the country in a nice way. But then when they do that, there is conflict between nations all over the world. And some nations, because they feel so strongly about their nation, they want to extend their influence, economic influence, political influence, cultural influence, educational, different kinds of influence over other nations. And all these things cause a lot of trouble, and people are worried. So, the fundamental principle of nationalism is the understanding that I am the body. And hence my body, my senses should be engaged in the service of my country. And from the transcendental point of view, Srila Prabhupada explains, and he says, our senses don't belong to me, and the senses are not to be used in the service of the nation. The senses belong to Krishna. He is the master of sense, Hrishikesha. He owns the senses. And our senses are hence meant for his service. Owner can use his possessions because he is the possessor. If anyone else uses that possessions, he runs into trouble. This is a principle. Suppose a man walks to the parking lot. He takes his car and drives out. He can drive, nothing happens. Suppose a man goes to the parking lot. He doesn't have a car, but he sees there is a car parked there. Looks around and then he opens the door and the door opens. He's very happy. He looks inside. The ignition key is also left there. Somebody has forgotten. Now he'll sit inside, turn on the car, and he starts driving out. In just a matter of few hours or so, he'll run into trouble. Isn't it? Because he has stolen the car. The owner will come, he'll see his car missing, he'll call the police, because the number, everything, they'll start alerting and he'll get caught. If he drives his own car, happily he can drive. When he drives another person's car, he can't be at peace. In the same way, our senses, we are thinking it is mine. It's available, my senses, and I'm using it. We are thinking it is mine. It's not ours. The senses are all created according to the design of the Lord, and they belong to the Lord. The senses, the body belongs to the Lord. The living entity who is inhabiting inside and driving and using this body also belongs to the Lord. Everything belongs to the Lord. Isha vashyamidam sarvam. This consciousness that everything belongs to the Lord and everything should be used in the service of the Lord for the pleasure of the Lord. This is bhakti. Hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So, this mala, and because of this mala of misconception of oneself, all other malas, kama, krodha, lobha, all that is the next level of creation in the consciousness of the living entity, because the fundamental consciousness is that I am the body and I must use all these things for I want to be an independent enjoyer. So this mala, and then the next level, because of kama, krodha, it takes on many very variegatedness. I want to enjoy in this way, I want to enjoy in this way, I want to lord over, I want to control, I want to experience this relationship. Variegated desires, and so it becomes a mountain of desires. But there are great people. They have vidhuta ashesha malana. They have somehow cleansed their heart of those dirty things. Then what happens? If you cleanse the heart of the dirty things, the consciousness of the dirty things, the priests here are saying, Bhavatsva bhavanam, atmaramanam. Then they understand, they begin to realize that they are Bhavatsva bhavanam. They are telling Vishnu, these great sages, Bhavatsva bhavanam asi. They have understood that they are of the same quality as you are. Because we are of the same quality. spiritual quality as the law. We are not material. We are not a product of material energy. But right now, we are misunderstanding. That is why Krishna also explains in the Bhagavad Gita, idam gnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agataha. Now I'll explain this knowledge, Arjuna. He's telling in the beginning of the 14th chapter. The chapter is about the modes of material nature. It is the modes of material nature which is actually conditioning us to this material world. Nibhadnanti. And so Krishna is telling, now I'll give you that knowledge by which you will understand. Idam gnanam upashritya. If you take shelter of this knowledge, mama sadharmyam agataha. You will attain agataha. Mama sadharmyam. Dharmyam, quality. Mama sadharmyam, my quality, you will attain. So here, bhavatsvabhavana. And the result of bhavatsvabhavana, understanding that I am of the same quality of Vishnu, I am of the spiritual quality, not material quality, the immediate result is Atmaramana. One will become very, very self-satisfied. In the material world, we are so much dissatisfied. And we are struggling to conquer all these dissatisfaction and overcome this dissatisfaction. But if we rise our consciousness to spiritual platform, this is how Srila Prabhupada explains. Material platform, spiritual platform. We rise to the spiritual platform. We exist in the spiritual platform. We live in that spiritual platform. And that's the platform in which you can associate with Krishna. And then one will be Atmaramanam, Muninam. And who does all this? Thoughtful people, not foolish people. Thoughtful people. Thoughtful people are called Muninam because they have agitated their mind to understand the truth. Sometimes Prabhupada uses the word Muninam in a positive sense, like this. Those who have agitated their mind so that to understand what is the truth. Sometimes in a negative sense. People who agitate their mind with mental speculation, trying to understand what is the word. So both kinds of usages are possible. Here in a more positive sense, Prabhupada has used Muninam. And how did they do all this? Anavarata parigunitha. Incessantly recounting gunagana. Oh Lord, you are gunagana. You are a reservoir of wonderful qualities. And these Munina, they parigunitha. And how do they do it? Anavarata parigunitha. Incessantly chanting. When Prabhupada was preaching in the Western countries, one scholar in Indian philosophy wrote to Srila Prabhupada and said that I have come across your disciples, I have met them, but then I see that they are chanting a lot. And I have heard that you chant a lot to develop your philosophy. But I don't think that is mentioned anywhere or something like that. He wrote some objection like that. And then Prabhupada replied, no, Bhagavad Gita says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantaschadrudavrataha. Everywhere in the material, in the spirit, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vedic literatures, and in our parampara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Satatam kirtaniya sada harihi. So, by incessantly chanting, recounting gunagana, parama mangalayana. Mangala is auspicious. What is auspicious for us in the material world. What is auspicious for a prisoner in the prison house? If we can understand that question, then we will know. A prisoner got an extra roti one day. That was a very auspicious thing he got. Can we say that? He got an extra sweet one day. No, none. Those are small things. Not Parama Mangala. They may be small Mangalas. Parama Mangala for a man who is in the prison is, he came out of the prison, they opened the doors and said, you go. They freed him. That is Parama Mangala. In the same way, we living entities, we are in this prison of this material world, bound by Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, and again Punar Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So we are bound by these things, not able to get free. That is Parama Mangala. Parama Mangala Ayana, Guna Ghana Kathana Asi. And such kathana, chanting, describing, kirtana, kathana, kirtana mean the same thing. Guna Ghana Kathana, that is Mangalayana, Parama Mangalayana. That creates the most auspicious thing. And that's why Prabhupada translates Mangalayana, supreme bliss. Parama Mangalayana, supreme bliss. So, the priests are saying, my dear Lord, you have appeared here. And who? Those great souls who have purified their hearts completely of all dirty things, and with the fire of knowledge develop detachment from the material world. And in this way, Bhavatsvabhavanam, they have attained spiritual qualities like you. And they have become Atmaramanam. They have become self-satisfied and they are great sages, Muninam. And they have attained all these things by Anavarata Parigunita, by incessantly chanting, Parigunita, recounting your glories, Gunagana, O Lord, your reservoir of all qualities. Parama Mangalayana Gunagana Kathana, and your chanting about your glories simply produces the supreme bliss, the highest Mangala, auspiciousness for the living entities. And even for such people, your personal presence is very rare. That is the spirit of the statement of the sages. That's why Prabhupada begins the purport by saying, the priests in Maharaj Nabi's sacrificial arena appreciated the personal presence of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they considered themselves very much obliged. Even in the translation, Prabhupada has written, your personal presence is very rare. So the Lord had personally come there. And hence, these priests, they know, even for such elevated souls like they have described, of course, they are very happy describing the glories of the Lord. Parigunita, Anavarata Parigunita itself is completely satisfying them. But even for them, the Lord's personal presence, this whole subject matter is about personal presence of the Lord. Vishnu appeared there. That they are saying, this is very rare. We are so obliged to you, my Lord. You don't have to come. It is because of the elaborate sacrifice we did you came? No. They described in the past, what is the Lord's position? Every moment, all his desires are unlimitedly expanding and getting fulfilled. That is the position of the Lord. Nothing, he is not in need of anything. So our elaborate sacrifice has not pleased you, cannot please you. And Prabhupada's example in that if you remember that, he's quoting Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami's wonderful verse. If a man is hungry, you give him food, he'll be very happy. If a man is full, food does not attract him. Right? Sometimes we have big feast in our ashram. So much we ate. After that, something is brought. Hey, why don't you have? No, no, no. Generally, we'll never say no for such things. Right? We'll be happy to have. But at the end of a big feast, no, 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 no. Because there's no more hunger. There's no more appetite for all that. So the Lord is full. No appetite at all. He's so full. So how can you please him? Give him something and please him. But bhakti pleases him. So these are all the important principles that these priests are conscious of, and they are mentioning one by one. And in this verse, they are talking about the personal presence of Vishnu. That's why Prabhupada concludes the translation, your personal presence is very rare, and begins the purport by saying, the priests of Maharaj Nabi's sacrificial arena appreciated the personal presence of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they considered themselves very much obliged. And then Prabhupada concludes the purport, the last sentence in the purport. Therefore, he was so kind to them now he was personally present. Therefore, the priests were very much obliged. So, we should recognize this point. Why this is all, remember, all this is preparation for understanding Krishna in the 10th canto. Bhagavatam is preparing us. That Supreme Lord, Vishnu, personally appeared and made his presence in this sacrificial arena. And the priests are recognizing your personal presence. Oh my Lord, it is so rare, even for the exalted souls. And you have appeared in this arena. They are very much thankful, grateful, obliged. And they are recognizing this very special presence of, personal presence of the Lord. There are two verses in the Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto. One of them, Srila Prabhupada often quoted many times. This verse comes in the context of the Gopas, Krishna and the Gopas. They went to the forest. They would take the cows and the calves, and as they grew up, when they were small, they were only taking the calves. And then at some point, Nanda Maharaj said, okay, now you can take cows also. And that date on which the change happened is called Gopashtami. Then, from then on, he was allowed to take cows also. Otherwise, only calves, because they were small children. So when Krishna and Balaram would go with the cowherd boys, they were also young boys, and they would go to the forest, and Shukadev Goswami describes that how Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys had such fun taking the cows in the forest of Vrindavan. And it would be sometimes sunny, and in the sun there would be birds flying, and they will see the shadow, and all of them running behind the shadow, like small boys. There's another game they would say. What does that say? I forget that word. They would all be running around, and then they would make Krishna. Who will go and touch Krishna? I will go and touch Krishna first. And they would go run and touch, and they will become, Krishna, I touched you. Like small boys. And playing with the shadows, going to the caves and calling out names and hearing the echo. And when they hear the echo, the small boys, they get amused by that. And then they will say, you rascal. And then the echo will come, you rascal. And they would all laugh. So all these kind of playing with the frogs, playing with the animals, dancing with the peacock. They see a peacock dancing, they'll go and imitate the dance. All these kind of pastimes that Krishna and Balaram, when they were having these pastimes with the cowherd boys, Shukadev Goswami says, Ittam satam brahma sukhanubhutya. Ittam, in this way, these cowherd boys are playing with Krishna and Balaram. Who is this Krishna? Satam brahma sukhanubhutya. Satam, there are some transcendentalists who are after brahma sukhanubhutya, brahma sukhanubhuta. They want to experience the brahma sukha, brahmananda, the pleasure of impersonal realization. They are after that. And because of that, they cultivate knowledge, they practice austerities, and to experience that brahma sukha anubhutya. Dasyam ittham satam brahma sukha anubhutya. Dasyam gatanam paradaivatena. And there are another kind of devotees who consider that Lord to be the paradaivata, paradevata, and they want to render service to him. Dasyam gatanam paradaivatena. Because they want to be their Dasa. Today we are celebrating Hanuman Jayanti. And he is the symbol of Dasyam gatanam paradaivatena. Most exalted servant of Lord Ramachandra. Right? He rendered wonderful services to Lord Rama. So there are devotees who look upon the Lord as Paradaivata, Paradevata, the Supreme Lord, and they want to serve him. Dasyam gatanam Paradaivata, Paradaivatanam. Mayashritanam Naradarakena. And there are others who are Mayashrita. They have taken shelter of the material energy. And for them, the Lord appears like Naradarakena. They look like Krishna is like another ordinary person. They think like that. So, satam brahma sukhanubhutya, dasyam gatanam paradaivatena, and maya shritanam naradharakena. With that Lord, sakam vijahruhu. With that Lord, these boys were sakam, along with them. These boys, along with him, they were enjoying Kruta Punya Punja. How fortunate these cowherd boys are. What heaps of pious activity, virtuous activities they have performed, that they are playing with that Lord whose effulgence, satam brahma sukhanubhutya. There are people who perform severe austerities just to get a glimpse of his effulgence. And there are those devotees who want to serve him as Paradevata. And there are foolish materialists who think that he's an ordinary man. He's an ordinary person. Kruta Punya Punja. Punja means heap, bunch and multitudes. Heaps of punya they have performed. These boys, look how they are playing with Krishna and Balaram. So, the personal presence of the Lord is very rare. The sages are offering prayers. That Lord appeared among these cowherd boys, and he is also playing with them. That's why in another place in the Bhagavatam, I'll skip because we are running out of time. Shukadev Goswami says, Aho bhagyam, Nanda Gopa Vrajaukasam. Vraja, Okasam. Okasam means inhabitants. Vrajaukasam. Nanda Gopa Vrajaukasam. Aho bhagyam. What is their great fortune? You see, Yat mitram, they have become, that Lord has become their friend. Paramanandam, Param, Parama Brahman Sanatanam. That Param Brahma, Paramananda, that Sanatana Brahma, he has become their friend. What is the Aho Bhagyam? Aho Bhagyam. So, these prayers of the priests of Nabhi's, Maharaj Nabhi's arena, they are recognizing the presence, personal presence of the Lord is so rare. And that Lord, whose personal presence is so rare, became the friend, became the son, and became the lover of Rajaukasam. How fortunate these are. Who are these people with whom the Lord, whose personal presence is very rare, he is playing like a cowherd boy. He's acting like a young boy under the care of Mother Yashoda and Nanda, and who is the lover of the gopis. Who are these people? What is going on? So this is the very, very confidential aspect of the Vedic literature, not so easily known. And hence Krishna himself came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give this knowledge. And Krishna, who was dancing with the gopis, who are these gopis? And when some of the gopis come to this material world to serve the Lord, what do they become? They become Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, foremost exalted acharyas. And they know Krishna. And that is why that Parabrahma, who he is, how his personal presence is very rare. And he was doing these leelas in Vrindavan to convey all these things. The Bhagavatam is preparing the readers. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.